Good day, this is Microsoft Excel, and today we're going to be looking at borders. These little blue lines that run between the columns and these little blue lines that run between the rows, these are called grid lines. Here, let me zoom in so you can sort of see some grid lines. These little blue lines are grid lines, and grid lines will not print. So if I go up here to print preview, go to print and then print preview, you'll see that the lines, the little grid lines, will not print, and it's sort of hard to tell which words go with which rows and which TV shows are at which time slot. So we got to do something about that. The grid lines will not print. In fact, you can even hide the grid lines if you want to. You go over here to view, and there's a little checkbox that says, do you want to view the grid lines? You could turn it off and say, oh my gosh, I don't even have blue lines, so that's not very good. So we'll do grid lines again, and I want to put those lines on, and I'm going to highlight all my cells, and I'm going to put borders around all the cells. Borders is on the Home tab. It's in the Font group, and there's a drop-down box. These are the borders, and it has lots of choices. Do you want to put a border on the top or on the bottom or the left or the right, or no border at all? Let's do bottom border, and I'll show you what it does. I'll click off down here someplace, and now you can see there's a black line that runs across here, and that black line is a border. It will print. I'll do print preview, and we'll just take a look at that. So here it is running across the bottom. That's my bottom border. I'll close it up, and now I'm going to highlight all the cells, and I'm going to put a border around every single cell, and that is simply all borders. It says all borders. Give it a click. Now it's going to look much better. You might notice though that some of these cells have 2 rows of words in them, and some only have 1 row of words in them, and so some of them don't look very good because they're sort of on the bottom while the other ones are centered pretty well. Let's align all these in the middle. We'll go like this and find the middle of line. Here it is. Remember that, middle of line. Give it a click and everything lines up in the middle. Looks great. Let's do a print preview and see if those borders will really print. Do you think they will? Yes, I think so too. Hey, that looks pretty good. Now, sometimes though you want to emphasize your favorite show even a little bit more, so you might do something like this. We'll go up here and we can use the bucket. The bucket will fill in the background. It's called fill color. We'll give it a click and say I want to fill this one in maybe this color, and maybe I want to fill in one of my other favorite shows in some other different color, maybe this color. And if you do that, make sure that you fill it in with a color that's not too dark, especially if you're using black font. So maybe I'll choose maybe this one. You could, I suppose, you could choose one and say, you know what, I want to fill it in black. Whoa, wouldn't that be weird? I filled it in black. Well, now where's my words? So what I'll do is I'll highlight the words right here, and I'll say I want the words to be white. So I'll go up here and I'll find it. There it is. I'll say the words are going to be white and the background's going to be black. Hey, look at that. That looks pretty good. So that's how to shade things in. That's called shading or filling with color. You can get on your favorite show and use the bucket to shade in the background. It doesn't change the font color. The fonts are still black. I mean, the words, aren't they? The words are still black letters. It doesn't change the letters. It only changes the background. The bucket fills in the background color. Hey, let's look at some more border choices. I got this income statement. And on an income statement, you take the revenues and you subtract the expenses to get the net income. And usually when you do an arithmetic formula like this, the revenues minus the expenses, there'll be a line. There'll be a line underneath this 27,390. So give it a click, and I'm going to put a thick border on the bottom. Let's see, thick bottom border. Look at that. I guess a lot of people do that because it has a choice. I give it a click, and that's going to look pretty good. Now this one, total expenses, comes from this list. I added up all the expenses, and after I added them all up, I put the answer way over here. That's how accountants do it. Who knows why they add things up in one column and put the answer over here in the other column. I don't know why. Let's put a thick... Oh, look at that. It remembers the one you did before. So you can just click it again and it's ready to go. These little lines will print, but the blue ones, what do you call those blue ones again? Those blue lines are called what? Grid lines. That's right. Grid lines will not print, but borders will print. Boy, that seems like a test question to me. One more is about when you angle text. So if I was to highlight these days of the week right here, and I was going to angle them maybe counterclockwise like this, I'm not sure that looks very good. Let's center them. I guess they're already centered. Let's do a print preview and see what it looks like. Maybe it's good enough. Print preview. I wonder how it's going to look. It looks terrible. I mean, it doesn't even line up good. Let's close this print preview. We'll put a border around all these cells. Let's see, we want a border around all of them, and I don't want it to be just a black border. You know, if you choose one of these, it's just a black border. Maybe I can change the line color, and they have a line color choice down here, but even more is this one that says more borders. I'll give it a click and it says what style of border do you want? You want a dashed border or a dotted border? I think I'm going to go for a dashed border, and look, I can change the color. Let's make it a red dashed, and if I was to go click OK right now, that would be a terrible mistake because look at the preview. The preview has no red dashes. The preview has no lines at all. So just because you choose things over here doesn't mean you've applied them to the cells yet. So you can click the top or click the bottom or click the sides or click the insides, but hey, instead of doing one bit at a time, you know, you could have just done this whole thing. I want all the insides and I want all the outsides. I think I'll make the outsides blue and thicker. Maybe this one, and big and thick, and then tell them I want blue and I want big and thick and I want that on the outside. Here it is, outside. The preview looks good. If the preview looks good, you're ready to go. Let's say OK. Now when you do that, you see how you get slanted borders. Let's print preview and see if it looks pretty good. Yeah, I see. It didn't look centered before, but now it looks centered pretty well. I've got those borders on that. So when you align things and angle them, either counterclockwise or clockwise, it doesn't matter if it's angled. It's good to put borders around it. It looks a lot better. Let's close that up and let's just put an ordinary border around the whole thing. See if that looks good. First I'll say I want no borders at all. I wonder if I can do that. Yeah, take the borders off. And then just what about ordinary borders? Just ordinary all the way around. Look at that. All borders, top, bottom, left, right, inside, outside. Looks pretty good. Let's do a print preview and see how that looks. Maybe it looks better. And maybe it looks worse. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think that looks pretty good. So borders and shading. What if I wanted to shade in the Sundays? Can I highlight them like this and shade it in? Let's pick a color. Blue. Oh, look at that. It even does the slant. Isn't that pretty good? I'll do the Tuesday. It doesn't look like it's highlighting Tuesday, does it? But if you look up here in the formula bar, you can sort of tell, yeah, it has the word Tuesday in it. You're in D1, my friend. Over here it says D1. So I'll highlight all these, and I'll say I want these to be some different color. Maybe this color. And I'll highlight this. Let's do... can you highlight these and these at the same time? I mean, I know I can do this and then highlight across and do these two. But how do I skip the one in the middle and just do the one on the outside? Well, can I teach you a trick? You highlight these and then you hold down the Control key. If you hold down the Control key, you can go to a different place and highlight other things. Now they're all highlighted out there. Let's go change them to the same color. Maybe some sort of green. How's that? Oh, look at that. You can highlight things even if they're not touching each other if you hold down the Control key. Well, that was borders and shading. That's about all there is to it.